very special place in my life. I'm in Lebanon, Tennessee at the campus of Cumberland University. And once again, I have another guest for the show. Today, it's someone who is pretty important in my life. I'm sitting down with Coach Woody Hunt of the Cumberland University baseball team. Coach Hunt, thank you for agreeing to sit down with me today.
Glad to be here, Tim.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of you that are wondering, why am I sitting down with this guy? And I'll give you that reason. I played baseball for Coach Hunt my freshman, sophomore, junior years, and I was here for 3 years. I have 2 degrees from Cumberland, but it was a big part of my athletic development. And I've had, as I've said many times before, a lot of great coaches in my life. I've been very fortunate to have great coaches since I was a little kid, but Coach Hunt stands out above all of them in the impact he had on my life. And now I didn't, back when I played for Coach Hunt, played for you, I didn't know, years later I was going to become a coach. And so I'm glad that at least I think I paid attention as much as I could with your coaching style and how you led us and taught us and helped us to be better ball players and men, because now I'm in your shoes doing the same thing, albeit in a different sport. But Coach Hunt is, arguably, and I said this about the Driveway series in the last episode, is that in my view, it's not an argument. He is one of the greatest and best baseball coaches in the country of any level of the sport. He has won 3 national championships. I believe has been runner-up 2 times. He's been third 2 times, fourth 1 time. Has come within 1 pitch of winning that 4th one, or close to it. And so he's been to the top. He's been in the middle. He's been at the bottom before in this sport. And if you play baseball long enough, or sports in general, you're gonna experience the highs and lows. And so I wanted to explore some topics with him today about coaching, about leadership, and and I think if you learn more about him, his teams, and his programs, you'll probably over time get a better understanding of why I am the way I am, because I learned a lot about being the best that I possibly could be from him. And back then I not only learned a lot about coaching and leading young people on a college campus. So we're going to get after it, and we're just going to let this conversation flow as we can. Now, Coach Hunt and I have remained really good friends since I was here, and I didn't anticipate that. I didn't think we would still be friends, and you still mentor me today for sure, because not only did I play here, I coached here for 8 years, coached the cycling team, which afforded me a chance to come over and visit quite often and talk with you, pick your brain about different things, and just be around you. And so I shared with him earlier some of the topics I wanted to talk about, and so we're going to jump right in the first one. And early on as a cycling coach, I had the guy that mentored me to be a cycling coach. His name is Todd Nordemeyer. And Todd, early on, really emphasized with me, I've got to think about, I've got to work on, and I've got to establish my own coaching philosophy. And that took me some time to figure out. And so I'm curious for you. You've been coaching here, this will 39 years, or this will be your 40th?
42nd year.
Oh gosh, 42nd.
Count assistant, yeah.
Okay.
Assistant years, yeah.
So you've won over 1,500 games, and I'm sure when you started, did you ever imagine you would get to this point?
Never had any idea.
So, but when you started, how did you come up with, or how did you develop your coaching philosophy and style those first 2 to 3 or 4 or 5 years?
Well, first of all, I was just wanting a chance to coach through playing and through just having a passion for the game. You just wanted to stay in it. And through in it, I was playing and coaching in a league in Kentucky, and had an opportunity to meet a guy from Cumberland, and he offered me a job to be the assistant coach when we were at JUCO, and I took it, and and was just so happy to be involved with it. So I think that my coaching philosophy developed after I got here. I was just loved the game so much, wanted to be a part of the game so much, and I just did what I had to do to get into it.
Yeah. Who were your biggest influences that you, as you know, looking at other coaches, and maybe it's, I know you've said some of these in the past to me,
Yeah.
but who would you identify in baseball? I know you're a big basketball fan, so what other coaches out there have you looked to as maybe people to teach you a few things?
Well, my dad was probably the best teacher I've ever had. And he taught on the farm.
Yeah.
He taught life lessons through a very tough way of working on the farm. And there'd be many days I'd be working and I'd say, Dad, it's time for me to go to play ball. And I had to go hitchhike or something like that. And he'd come and pick me up. And he was my coach at one time, too, very, very tough on me.
I remember your dad.
Yeah, and he was a tough man who had passion as a farmer to be the best farmer he could be. And I think I learned passion from him. But the guy who probably really shaped me was a guy named Dickie Parsons, who was my high school coach and who was a University of Kentucky coach for a while, basketball and baseball. He was assistant to Joe B. Hall.
Oh.
And in basketball, he was a head baseball coach at Kentucky for, I'm not sure how many years it was, but and so he was a guy that really, I just really loved his style, his toughness, and his smartness about the game, and so he kind of, I'm not sure he led me into coaching, but he led me to understand what leadership's all about as a coach.
Yeah. Did you know back then you were going to be a coach? Did you have a heart for coaching?
I did not, Tim. I don't know. I wanted to play, as long as I could. I loved the game so much. I went to every tryout camp you can imagine. I wanted a chance to play, and I was still playing independent the Bluegrass League in Kentucky and coaching at the same time when I got this opportunity. And so just
how old were you then?
27 when I
27.
came down here, yeah.
Okay.
And I just loved the game so much. And my brother taught me to love the game a lot too, growing up, because back then we didn't have a lot. We were poor, but we had what we needed. We had one baseball or one bat, and we cherished those things like you wouldn't believe.
That explains why we taped up so many baseballs and used them for the cage.
I respect the baseball more than you might know, because we didn't have any, growing up.
Yeah.
And back in the old days, the baseball was made out of horsehide.
Yeah.
And there's a distinctive smell about that ball.
Huh.
And now they're made out of cowhide, so it's a different smell. And I remember Worth brought back the old horsehide baseball many years ago, and I remember out here, I remember that smell when the ball hit the grass. I said, this brings back memories of the old horsehide baseball.
Oh.
So my brother taught me a lot to love the game, because he basically made me go play with him and on the farm and youth leagues and all that stuff that we had at that time, not like it is today. But so through a lot of different experiences, you develop a passion for what you do. And if you don't have passion for what you do, there's no way you can develop the philosophy. If coaches don't love what they do, there's no way they can have a philosophy. So I basically have developed my philosophy out of love for the game.
That's a great answer. So you get into the game, you get here to Cumberland, the opportunity opens up, you become the head coach, and around the same time, Cumberland's going from a 2-year to 4-year, right?
Yeah.
Then how did you become so focused on goals and setting big goals? Because I know what your one big goal was. Maybe you can explain that in relation to Coach Ken Dugan and what you wanted to accomplish. But how did you make those decisions?
Well, we was a 2-year school and I loved the JUCO league at that time. I was assistant coach for 2 years. I left, went to the Pirates for a year and came back, and then we were JUCO again for one more year. Then we made that. The coach left and basically said I could have the job because he had left, and time I was the only coach on this campus, so they made me the AD, the coach, and everything. So I was at the right place at the right time.
Classic Cumberland right there.
Yeah, classic. Very classic. And so I became the head coach as a JUCO coach, and I loved it. And then we went to the 4-year college, and I didn't like that. I wanted to stay JUCO. And then, but by playing in the fall games, Ken Dugan, Lipscomb, we would play them in the fall. And I could,
as a JUCO, and they were 4 years.
Yeah. It's been a scrimmage game. We played Western Kentucky, Middle, everybody around here back then. We played
I remember that
30-some games in the fall, and you could do that easily. So by watching Ken Dugan, and you watched other programs too, but Ken Dugan just kind of stood out to me of how competitive he was, and how disciplined he was, and how his teams were so good. And people don't realize that, at one time he was the best team around here.
Oh, definitely.
And so I looked across the dugout and I said, I want to be, I don't know if I said it to myself, but I knew the way I admired them. And Ken was an intimidating guy.
He's a big man.
And not in how big
just
he was.
means what he'd accomplished,
just how he presented himself.
Yeah.
I was kind of intimidated by him. But I wanted to have a team like him, and I said, going in, we went to the 4-year status. I said then, I want to be another Lipscomb, and that was my goal, was to be. Basically, my goal was to dethrone David Lipscomb.
Yeah, and over time have, he was long gone, but
and we had some great games with him, and we were very fortunate.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that, because I got one day in particular.
Yeah.
And see, I know you remember this already, but do you remember, is my freshman year, how many runs we scored on them in that doubleheader at their field, at the old field, not the new field, the old field. Do you remember how many runs we scored?
I think it was 20 plus. I'm not
33.
30, something. I knew it was a lot.
We thumped them.
Yeah, we did.
And I'll tell you something else. I'm going to be honest with you. That day, everybody on the team knew how much that game meant to you.
Yeah.
I didn't go to class that day.
Okay.
I did not go to class. I had all my stuff. You let me drive to the game because I'm from Nashville. I was the first one at the ballpark.
I remember that now.
And I knew I was playing because Mike Wheeler was hurt.
Yeah.
And so that day was, I've had a lot of wonderful memories playing here, but that was the satisfaction for that doubleheader victory. Was among the top of the days that we had. And
it was probably one of the games that you could look at and really jump-started our program into the 4-year status, because, we were very, very competitive then, that, and we were just as good. That team was just as good as any national championship team that I had. We were very, very good, and we were so determined. And the guys that played in that era, you didn't have to get them ready. They were ready to play.
Highly motivated guys.
Highly motivated. And I'm not saying there wasn't any problems. There were problems, but you have to worry about them competing, because they competed very, very hard.
Yeah. So the program really took off in 1988.
Yeah.
Getting to the World Series for the first time. And then I arrived here in fall of 88 and played those 3 years. But it took a while to really get things going at the highest level.
Yeah.
What do you feel like was the biggest difference to get to that point where now, hey, our goal was always go to the World Series, but then you finally actually started going in the early 90s, and then it took even longer to actually win one.
Yeah. Well, 88 was a big year. We had a good team, a really good team. Dayhoff and Wheeler's on that team, and I could go on and on. Those guys, we had position player wise, and probably pitching too. We had a Division I team, no question about it. And the only I would say negatives that we went to the World Series and lost our first 2. That's because we didn't have any World Series experience, but we were very, very good. But that team was really good. But we had a good team the next year in '89. You were on that team, I believe.
Yep.
And we got beat here. I think Trevecca won that year. But we had a good team that year, and we had a good team in '90. You were on that team, and '90 was one of the best teams I've ever had, with position player wise. that would match it with anybody that's ever played NAIA baseball. I believe the 1990. We just didn't have the pitching depth, as you will know.
Right. Now, I remember that all too well. Well, so you start going to the World Series. You win your first World Series, 2004.
Yeah.
And you said something to me. I was here visiting a week and a half ago. And you said something very telling to me because I mentioned to you, what my expectations and aspirations are going into our season.
Yeah.
High hopes. And our goal, yes, is to get our program back to where we are truly competing for the national championship, especially on the mountain bike side. And we are as close to being able to do that as ever. And, of course, me as a coach, I haven't won one. That's my goal, is one day to do that. You coached for almost, 20 years before you won your first one. But you said something to me that stood out and stuck with me, was that everything's pretty good up until you win one, and then you win one, and then I don't know how maybe you can describe it better about that feeling after having won one, and then coming back the next year trying to do it again, and just how difficult the job becomes after you've won one.
Well, you put all your hopes and your goals into winning the championship, and that's what your goal should be every year. But after you win, we first of all, we had a lot of teams that could have won it.
You were runner-up the year after you won it, or did I have that?
Yeah, we should have went back to back.
Yeah.
But in '95 we had a great team, went runner-up. In '96 we had another good team. And in '97, all those years we had good teams. But we never won it to '04. And after you win it, it's kind of a relief. I remember Brian, my son, grabbing me. He was he's one of the coaches, first base coach that year, and he grabbed me and said, "Dad, we finally did it. We finally did it." And that was a great feeling just to have him to embrace me and say that. But but it doesn't take long for it to say you got to get back to work, and the drive to do it again. It's almost like a burden to you. I don't know how it is, and maybe other coaches can explain it better than I can. Maybe Tim Corbin can explain it. But after you win the first one, here's what I thought. I told myself or told somebody else that we have to win multiple championships. We got to do it again.
Yeah.
To make it legit.
Yeah. And
I wouldn't say it wasn't legit, but to put a stamp on the program is we had to win again. So I felt that in '04. I felt like we had to win another one to really put that stamp on our program. '05 we go back with basically the same team and maybe a little bit better pitching staff, and we can finish fourth, I believe. We basically should have won it back to back, and that's one of the regrets I have, is maybe I should have coached a little bit better. Went back in '06 and finished one play away from winning it. That was the toughest year of all. '95 was tough. We lost. '06 was, I think it was 10 innings. It was very, very tough to lose that game. We had, every inning was back and forth. They had 5,000 or 6,000 fans there screaming and yelling, and it was so much.
And I think what a lot of people don't realize, and I know it's maybe changed a little since, but it was held at the same place every year.
Yeah.
And Lewis and Clark State, is that the name of it? And so they had a shoe in. They were there.
Yeah.
They got the automatic, essentially.
Yeah.
And they won. They have won a lot of championships.
Yeah, and and of course they won a lot. The tournament's been held in different places: Sioux City, Iowa, Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I think in Florida. So Lewis and Clark has won some tournaments away from there. They're very good, first of all. But again, them getting to host it is a very big plus for them.
Yeah.
And so in '06 we were playing Lewis and Clark.
Yeah.
And got beat and we could have won it. And if we had, we had 3 years span there that we could have won 3 straight, and I think about that and I get cold chills. But, we didn't. We lost and very, very hard defeat. Guys were dropping to their knees and just with emotion, crying and everything.
Oh, well, listen, I can remember my last game that I played. And it was tournament play, and we were at Lipscomb, and I remember crying, and I remember because I didn't know if I was going to get drafted.
Yeah.
I didn't know if I was going to be coming back. I didn't know what the situation was for me.
That's
but
right.
I'll never forget, next to me was Joe O'Brien.
Yeah.
Toughest guy on the team. And he was crying.
Oh yeah. It takes a steam out.
And we were far from the World Series at that point.
Yeah, we were 2 steps away. I remember that year, very tough loss. Every time when you put so much into the game, and cycling or baseball, foot, whatever it may be, the last game is going to hurt. I always tell the guys, look, I want you crying and hugging each other at the end of the game, whether you win or lose, because that means you put something into it.
Yeah.
And you have a feel for your teammates. So, but the 06 was very, very tough because we were so close of winning it there. And my goal was to always win a championship against Lewis and Clark
at their field.
At their field, and we did it in 2014.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So first one's in 2004. Second one you won overall 2010. Then you win your third one, which is one better than Ken Dugan.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. One better than Ken Dugan, and I'm sure it's not lost on Coach Corbin at Vanderbilt that he's got 2 and you got 3. All right. So and I mean, that's just how coaches are. I'm sure all of us want to be better than the best.
Yeah.
And you just do your best to do that. And but so you've won 3, but after that third one, there's been a dip.
Yeah.
There has been a dip, and you and I have talked about this a lot because I stay in touch with you about what's going on with the team and where are the deficiencies, where are the strengths, where are you at? But there was that one year, I know you know this isn't all about how great things can be, but you've been through some serious adversity because you had a losing season.
Yeah.
You never, I don't think, had a losing season.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure was very frustrating and disappointing for you and the players.
Yeah.
What was that like to go through?
It was tough, Tim, because I thought, and even said to myself, I think God has a way of dealing with your arrogance, and I don't try to be an arrogant person, but I remember in my truck one day thinking to myself, oh, we will never have a losing season here. And by George, we did. And we had 2.
It was 2. It was 2.
It was, I forgot what year it was, but we were pretty close.
This is after being on top.
Yeah, on top, yeah. And 15, after the championship year,
that's right. Because I joked with you. I said, well, maybe that you can go from first to worst back to first again, which is a distinct possibility. It didn't happen. But coming out of that, how do you come out of that?
Well, we were in transition. We were going to Division II, and it created a different angle for us, and we had to deal with that for a year or 2, and then and then we've had some fairly good teams. We've been, as I look back and trying to be fair about it, but not blaming that reason. And we've had some injuries. We've had some guys who just didn't work out. Recruiting has become tougher and tougher because of the mindset of players. The school is a little more difficult to get into. And so there's a lot of things we've had to deal with. But, last year we had a pretty good team. The year before we had a pretty good team that could have gone to the series with a few breaks. But we didn't get the breaks, and we didn't go. But it's my goal is to get the team back to Lewiston. Whether I can or not, I don't know. It's very tough to get back there, and there's so many good teams nowadays. And I don't know how it compares to when you played. It just seems like it's been good every year to me.
Well, I can tell you, just in the sport of cycling, in collegiate and at the professional level, I know some coaches coaching and involved with what we call in cycling world tour teams, and now everybody is more serious and more prepared year round.
Yeah.
And and the preparation and the science behind the training and getting stronger is just something that now everyone is really pouring their heart into, it's the abilities and performance of everybody is rising. So, but you know what? No matter what sport you're in, you can't have just a great coach. You have to have good ball players or good cyclists. And so one of the things I wanted to explore with you was about athlete development and really focus it on how to take that special person and get them to the next level. Next level being, if you're in college, of course, the next step is professional. And I'm just, from my experience with you, I remember being here as a freshman, and very early on in that first fall, I remember you telling me, I think you have what it takes to play at the next level. You can play professional baseball. And the truth is, you confused me. I mean, it was confusing to hear that because I had not heard that. I mean, I didn't get recruited by any Division I schools. We didn't get professional scouts at our games at McGavick. We should have.
Yeah.
And you know the kind of players we had. We should have. But we didn't. That wasn't the style of our coach in high school. And so I arrive here, and you start planting these seeds with me. And I really, at first, I wasn't sure what to do about it. But you saw something in me, and you saw something in some of my teammates, you know, and because I know you didn't say that to everybody. Mm-hmm. One, what is it that you see in those kinds of people that you don't see in others? And then how do you plant that seed and water it and help them to get the most out of their abilities so that one day, you were with me when I signed my contract, and I'm sure you've been with other players when they signed their professional contract. And how does the in-between of that, how does that all happen? How do you do that?
Well, you know, you got to recognize ability, first of all, and where that ability is. You know, in your case, that ability was down the road. You know, you wasn't a professional player as a freshman, but first of all, you had size. You know, you were strong physically. You had a good arm. You were catching.
Yeah. And
you had power. So the strength and your arm strength and the power you had in your bat, you know, that's indicates there could be some professional ability there. So you look at the person you're dealing with, and you got to make sure that you don't tell somebody that you know is not going to play that you know. So you look at a person and you want to plant that seed that there's more in there, more in there than you even know of. I tell guys, I said, there's more in there than you can even imagine.
You just got to find a way to pull it out.
You got to find a way, and sometimes it takes a person to tell you that.
Yeah.
And in my own case, my own career, Tim, Dr. Stockton pulled me to the side one day. I had no idea. He told me this. I'm not bragging or being boastful. He told me, he said, I like what you're doing. And he told me, I like your leadership ability or style. Whatever he said, just some of those words. I didn't know if I was a leader. I didn't know what I was doing. I just was working.
Yeah.
You know, and he told me that, and that changes you a little bit, you know.
Yeah.
Because then you realize, well, maybe I do have something. I didn't know it at that time.
Right.
I didn't know if I was even going to survive here.
Yeah.
But here's a fellow, the president of the university I became very close with, told me that. In your case, I told you that because I believe you could do that. And so sometimes it takes somebody to tell you that for you to realize that. And then you got to challenge them to do more and to do more. In your case, you didn't have to because you was a very hard worker, and sometimes you were too hard on yourself. But you had the drive, you had the passion to become better. So now you had to believe in yourself a little bit more. Mm-hmm. You know, you wasn't recruited by Division I, and you were so happy just to get the opportunity to play at Cumberland.
Yeah, I was.
And now, if you went back nowadays, if you were playing in today's era, you'd be a Division I player when you were a junior, probably. They would already signed you.
Yeah.
But so it's that different now.
Yeah.
Because of all the showcases, how you can market yourself. But I saw in you ability, and I've told a lot of guys that. Not everybody, of course.
Right.
But you know, I do challenge each player based on their ability. That there's more out there. You can do more. And sometimes we may take a little freshman kid, and we may say something like this: "You have a chance to make the varsity someday."
Yeah.
But it's going to take a while. But you have a chance to be a varsity player.
Yeah.
Now, what you do with that opportunity is going to be up to you. In your case, in other people's cases, you have a chance to play professional baseball. What you do with that, your ability, is going to be up to you.
Yeah.
So you try to tell them those things, to plant the seed, to motivate them and get them in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, I've tried to do that same thing because we have different levels within cycling, and some might not ever reach what we call the A level, or they might not actually go to the national championship, but they can get to a point where they're in consideration.
Yeah.
And then again, like you said, we do have people who they can compete at the next level, and I'm in conversations with several right now to push them in that direction because I've told them quite clearly it's in you, it's possible. But as you know, it takes 100% focus and commitment to do the work and prepare yourself to sharpen those tools and improve your skills and make yourself presentable for that possibility. And
you got to let people know that there's always more in there. And I do this in a challenging way to guys. And I have a sign up in our club, in our hitting facility, that says "Go Beyond." And those two words changed my career. Those two words. And I'll just tell you quickly how it happened. I was in my garage one day cleaning my garage out, and we just got back from the World Series in 2010, and I had put that stamp on our program, I thought, with the second championship. So I was mulling over getting out of it, or just, this is the way to, didn't know what to do, because I had been coaching several years at that point. And so I was cleaning, as a box there, I was digging through, and the box looked familiar, and things in there looked familiar. Well, I pull up this coffee cup, and on the handle, it's got two words. It's on my desk, in fact. It said "Go Beyond" on that coffee cup. I flip it over. It was made in Lewiston.
Really?
So the coffee cup was made in Lewiston. I can show you on my desk. So when I saw the word "Go Beyond" made in Lewiston.
Because if I remember correctly, you were up for consideration possibly for some other jobs.
Well, not really.
Well, you could have explored it at least.
Could have explored it, yeah. Yes. But I was thinking about this enough for me here,
Yeah.
And so, but I saw that "Go Beyond." There's a feeling, or just something. You know how it is. Just something comes over you. You start thinking about this. I said, I just got to keep going.
Yeah.
Well, and we were able, and I use that all the time, that because of that one thing, that coffee cup, made me keep going, and we won the championship in 14 again.
Yeah.
And without that coffee cup, I don't think I would have done it.
That's a great story.
Yeah.
Go
beyond. So I pointed that sign in the hitting facility. I said, guys, you know what those two words mean? There's more in you. You can go beyond anything that you've ever done if you want to.
Yeah. Well, my way of saying that with our team has been, it is inside of you, and it's my job to help pull it out.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely have to reach a point where you believe in yourself and you believe what important people in your life are telling you.
Yeah.
And that it's important to listen to those people and then buy in.
Yeah.
You have to buy in
Mm-hmm.
in that possibility.
Yeah.
And people that have asked me about you and playing for you, one of my answers to this, why is Coach Hunt such a good coach? And two things. One, you have a way of letting ball players be themselves.
Mm-hmm.
You just let their natural ability do the work. It does the job. And then you just refine and tweak it and smooth it and round it, and you don't try to overhaul anybody. Mm-hmm. And in fact, when I arrived here, you just said, man, why don't you just, take those shackles off of your swing and unleash it. I was very rigid and I was very robotic with my swing. And you just said, you don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
Do it however you want to do it. And so that was one. You were great with ball players, just letting them be themselves and letting their natural abilities come through and then working with them to improve them. And second, I tell people, I was crazy enough to believe him.
Yeah.
I believed him.
Yeah.
I felt like you knew more about the game and the sport and athletes than I did. So I knew you wouldn't lie to me. I knew you weren't lying to my teammates or anyone else. And so I was doing my best, and I know my teammates were doing their best to live up to it, if not beyond it, you know. And if you can get to a point where you're living beyond what people expect out of you, oh, man, then you can really do something special, you know. And so part of this segues into something I wanted to bring up, and it's, you know, when I was here, this is something I adopted from you with my teams that I coaches. I put together a team folder with some team policies and some information, our schedule, and things that they could expect that we're going to do, but also include a lot of motivation or inspiration type stuff, or mental things that they can look at is going to help with their mental preparation. And you had one hanging up on the pegboard today that I want to touch on, and maybe you could even touch on how you began creating these team folders that you would give us to help teach. But this one is about fun versus rewarding. Mm-hmm. And you know, athletes today, and it's drilled into them about having fun, and that should be part of what you experience as an athlete, as a coach too. You know, we're part of the experience. But this was written by a coach at Southwest Minnesota State University basketball team, and he breaks down the difference between fun and rewarding. And it really hit home, because I communicate with our athletes a lot about, you know, I see your faces at the end of races. I know when you're happy. I know when you're unhappy. And there's a disconnect between the preparation and the end result. And if all you want to do is fun, that's great. But then I see your face at the end of the race. And it's not jiving with your approach. Mm-hmm. And so, discuss that a little bit about, especially nowadays, because young kids today, what they are living through versus what I did and you did, very different. It's not all their fault, but how they view fun and how they see how to get the end result that they want, there's a big disconnect between what we're accustomed to.
Well, that's probably, Tim, one of the most difficult things I've got to deal with is fun versus seriousness of the game. Where's the line there? You know, the fun part to me is winning, competing as hard as you can. Now, if you're competing as hard as you can, you really don't have time or the mindset to get involved with the sideshow in the dugout or wherever. And you see it all the time, even in the big leagues, you'll see that. Mm-hmm. Is some of that okay? You know, yes, but how much you do, I really don't know. I'm having a difficult time to adapt to that approach or the body language I see, you know, during the game or even before the game. I'll go to big league games and I look at how they're taking batting practice nowadays, and I guarantee you a lot of coaches don't like that, but they get that pressure from the culture that's involved now. You know, they wear everything for BP now, and it's just not organized like it should, in my opinion. So I'm having a very difficult time, but fun, and I tell our guys, look, fun is in winning, is in competing to be the best that day. And I really believe that your mindset after the game can indicate how bad you want it. As you've been around me, you know, and you were the same way. Hey, the food don't taste good. I'm in a bad mood to the next day, but the next day I'm okay. Yeah. But I think it's got to hurt for a while. And why I'm that way, I don't know. It's just the way I am. And I want to have fun. I like to laugh. I like to laugh with people, and I like people, but I also like competing hard to be the best that day. Mm-hmm. And so the rewards, as this article talks about, the rewards are much better than the fun you're having. And sometimes you got to be able to understand what fun really is. Now, there's times in a game you can laugh and be a light moment, and I know each sport has a different approach and that type of thing. Yeah. But it's a very difficult thing. I think kids now, they want to celebrate everything you do in sports. But the end of the game is when you celebrate.
Right.
You know, you can always at the
That's
end.
the accomplishment.
Yeah, it gets to the, where are you going to be at the end of the game? You know, you hit a home run, so what? You know,
Doesn't matter if you lost.
Yeah, we're going to shake your hand, but it's over with.
Yeah.
Get to the next pitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so it's I think the kids are grown up in this era where everything is celebrated, everything. Look at me, type of thing.
Yeah. Well, this this printout that I am going to include with our team folder. I just want to quote it real quick, and it says, in our opinion, rewarding lasts forever, while fun lasts for the rest of the day.
Yeah.
Rewarding experiences happen when you go through things that aren't necessarily fun in order to achieve results that oftentimes exceed expectations.
Yeah, that's a great quote. Yeah, great quote. It's not the most fun to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and come to hit or lift weights or whatever you have to do, ride a bike on a trail, when it's dark and cold, whatever, or you do those things you have to do. It's not fun sometimes to put your body through what you have to put it through, and to be able to commit yourself to doing the extra stuff that you have to do to be the best you can be. But the rewards are out there.
Well, and I want to share my perspective as an athlete while I was here, and even still now, as I still race. I race. My attitude about that, how I try to teach this to our team is, I never. So when you were telling me that I could play professionally, I really deep down have never thought I was that good. I really didn't. A couple months ago, you asked me, you're curious as to how I'd been successful in baseball and successful in cycling, and my answer was easy. And I told you, I said, I'm going to outwork everybody.
Yeah.
That's my edge.
Yeah.
That's my edge. That's going to be my confidence. And I expressed to our team that, listen, if you do the work and you do all the little things right, when you get to that start line, that's going to be your edge. You're better prepared, and you will have. One of my last podcasts where I talk about getting radical.
Mm-hmm.
That you got to get radical if you want to get to the next level. You can't just be doing what everyone else is doing. That's the standard. You got to be above the standard, and make different decisions. And I really believe this deep down inside my heart, that before you can achieve a big result, you have to deserve it first.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, that takes you doing things that other people are unwilling to do. And I've always believed that I will outwork you. You're probably better than I am, but I'm going to outwork you. And I really drill that home with our team, because I know that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
Because there are teams that have players and cyclists, so to speak, that are getting most of the attention nowadays, but they can be beat.
Yeah.
And our edge is going to be, we're going to outwork them.
Yeah.
And so that's the kind of player I'm looking for. But that team folder, I know this is part of the team folder and in there as far, and something that's on the paperboard the kids get to see. How have you used your team folder to really just help mold the mindset of your ball players?
Well, I started that many, many years ago, basically when I first started coaching, and I've had guys that tell me, hey, coach, I still got my little notebook, and it was very small at one time, and it's gotten bigger and bigger. But it's just, I think you can take different ways to motivate you. You can take a Bible verse, to motivate you to live the right way. You can take a quote about how to behave or to achieve or to overachieve. And I think you can learn by that if you just sit down and talk about it. So I've done this over the years and give them handouts or in a notebook form, whatever, and we try to talk about each thing, just like I used to talk about the definition of work, and then I would talk about work habits, and what those two things mean. Or I would talk about the word attitude and break it down, and what that means, not only in baseball but in everything that you do in life. Or we may talk about the word humility, or we may talk about a story. We may talk about what somebody's been through, and through that, I think we've had pretty good success of getting guys to lock in, to be motivated by something besides on the field. Which that thought can take you to the field and make you better.
Yeah.
You have to. There comes a time you got to reflect. You got to think about things. You got to reflect on things, think about things, and challenge yourself through in different ways. Like for example, I have a little goal sheet, and part of that is, and part of that goal setting is what do you like about yourself? Give me 5 things. What do you like about, what you don't like? What habits would you like to change? If they're serious about it, and then that goes along with your goal setting.
Yeah.
Now you got to be realistic about things, and realistic but challenging, and goals can be changed. You might start the season out, and you may want to raise your goals up. But so we have the goal setting thing, and because it makes them think about what they want to do. I tell a lot of our players that are trying to get into the coaching area, I said, look, if you want to tell people what you want to do.
Oh yeah, I'm a big believer. You taught me that.
Yeah.
You got to put it out there.
You got to tell what
You
got to
put it out there in the world and breathe life into it, and then you're on the hook, and then the world conspires with you, not against you. It'll conspire with you, and good things will happen.
Well, that's what happened to me, and I got into here. I was having breakfast with Mickey England in Louisville, Kentucky, at a state tournament, whatever it was that time and I was coaching that team, and we had a really, really good team. And I just simply said a simple statement that I thought nothing would ever come of it. I said, I would like to get into college coaching. The next few days, he calls me up. He calls me up and say, look, I got this guy who came from South Alabama, but he went back home, he quit.
Wow.
Do you want to come down? So I drove down. I knew what I wanted to do before I even got here.
Wow.
And so just that one statement, I let him know what I wanted to do.
That's incredible.
And so I tell guys, you got to let people know what you want to do. As a player, an athlete, you got to talk about what you want to do.
Yeah.
And you got to talk about it with other people.
Yeah.
It's no secret. Hey guys, we got to get ready to play tomorrow. It's a big game. We're going to win this game tomorrow. That type of thing. It's still talking about your girlfriend or what you're going to do that night or whatever. It takes a special person to do that.
There is a level of accountability that comes with that.
Oh yeah, it does.
And it does absolutely get the most out of everyone when you do it. And I can think of countless examples where you did that with me as a person and us as a team. And I even remember one time sitting in a dugout, and all you said it was me, and I believe Bobby Perna was there, and you just kind of nudged and you just said to me, "You're not going to let him beat you, are you?"
Yeah. Well,
he had
a home run before you did. Yeah.
He had a couple home runs more than I did, and he and I were going back and forth, and boy, that stuck with me. I'm like, no, I don't want Bobby Perna to beat me.
Yeah.
And we're on the same team.
Yeah, that's right.
And so little things like that, and you said it the right way at the right time, and that did get a few extra home runs out of me that season.
Sure it did. Yeah, same way that with that team, you had you and Perna and Tommy Smith, Gary Dayhoff, and Ruiz, and that bunch. Y'all try to outdo each other.
Yeah.
Same way in 2010.
Yeah.
We had what we call Murderers Row. They hit a home run and come to the next guy, they match that. And so you challenge each other, and all of a sudden you got a good thing going, having a lot of fun. Guys.
And the thing is, they. I don't know about that team, but I know with ours, you wanted to see your teammates succeed.
Yeah.
Because if they were, then we're succeeding.
Yeah.
And we ruled a lot of teams that year
we
because
sure
of
did.
it. But you have to have that, and it comes from having a conversation and setting some big goals. Without it, boy, you're just rolling the dice every day.
That's right. Yeah, you got, and it's called drive. It's basically what it's called. The inner drive of a person, and you get a bunch of guys like that together. Now they may be jerks at times off the field. You may have to call them in.
We were definitely that sometimes too.
And it's just, that's where the coaching comes in.
Yeah.
That's where my part comes in, and trying to get everybody straight and on the narrow approach of things. If I know guys are going to mess up every year. If they didn't mess up, they wouldn't need me here.
Yeah.
So, but you get a bunch of guys together with drive, a bunch of bikers together with drive. I know it's kind of an individualized thing too, but you're gonna have a good squad.
Yeah. It takes a team.
Yeah, it takes a team. Yeah. You get a bunch of guys that want to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's amazing what you can do.
Yeah.
And we preach a lot about that. Collectively, what can we do together? And some guys can do different things, and some guys have to do more than others.
Yeah.
Back when you played, you had to do more than the other guys because you were better than them.
Yeah.
Chris Lauren told me one time. Chris.
Yeah, I remember.
Chris played behind small American catchers before or after you left.
Yeah.
And he said to me one day, he said this to me. He said, Coach, I knew if we wanted to win, those other guys need to be out there. Steve Green and Mark Suarez.
Yeah.
And so he said,
two legends in my book.
Yeah, two legends behind the plate and third base, what Steve was. But he said I knew that they had to be out there.
Yeah.
For us to win like we should.
Yeah.
And that's what a great teammate is.
Yeah.
And he did well too, but he understood what team success needed to be. He understood what it took to be out there.
Yeah. That's great. That's a good story. And I think that's some good stuff to end on.
Yeah.
Right there. Well, I want you to know, I hope some of my team members will listen to this.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure they wonder why I am the way I am a lot of times. And you're a large reason for that.
Well, I thank you. I appreciate you and your friendship and what you meant to me in our program. I've said this before, and I even said this year, we need another Tim Hall in his dugout because you were that intense, that focused on when you played, and you just don't find guys like it anymore. And so I appreciate that and what you meant to me and in our program. And one other thing I want to say is that I basically coach within my personality. I don't try to change my personality. I may copy things that other people do, but I think it's really important that you got to coach on who you are.
Yeah. And
I'm always trying to remember that I can't be a Ken Dugan, but I can look at him and say I want to be like him.
Yeah.
But I can't copy everything he did.
Yeah.
Because it's not me.
Well, and then that's my style as well.
Yeah.
I pulled a little bit from all of the coaches I've had.
Yeah.
I pull from the books I read, and I've said this to my team. I'm making all this up as I go along, and it's
exactly what I do.
Yep, it's coming from somewhere other than me. Like I'm not a genius.
Yeah.
But you told me one time this was while I was coaching here, and I was frustrated with something, and you just gave me 2-sentence advice, and boy, it was dead on the money. And you just said, just go do what you know is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And if you stick with that, people will see it. They'll get behind you. They'll support you. They'll get on board. And you'll go in the direction you want to go.
Yeah.
And that's what I've done.
Yeah.
And I'm going to stick with it. And,
And sometimes it's called a gut feeling.
Yes.
It's your gut.
Yeah.
And I coach, during the game, I coach by gut.
Yeah.
And sometimes my heart gets in the way, however. I may let it play a guy, I may play the other guy. But, your gut's really got, and a gut, it simply means a certain feel you have for the moment,
Yeah.
That allows you
Well,
to
you know what? When you can get to the point, whether it's as a coach or as an athlete, and you are going on instinct,
yeah,
and you have really sharpened your abilities to a point where you're not even thinking.
Yeah.
You are just performing. Ooh.
Yeah.
Look out.
Yeah.
Look out. good things are going to happen.
Everything. That's when it's fun. When you just let things go. You don't have to worry about thinking.
Yeah. We get in our own way too much.
Exactly right. Well, thanks a lot, Tim. Appreciate it.
Thank you for doing this with me, and it's been a pleasure. And I'm sure I'll be back to visit you again soon, later in the season, and maybe we can do this again at another time. So thanks a lot today.
Okay. Thank you, Tim. Okay.
Bye. Okay, we are back at Under the Sun, and today is the third installment of talking with coaches about building a culture of success and winning and what all is involved, and doing this one a little bit different. Today's special guest is Coach Woody Hunt at the Cumberland University baseball team, and we actually recorded a separate episode a few weeks ago, but something special has happened lately, this past weekend in fact, and I thought, you know what, I want to include that into the show. So Coach Hunt, thank you for the call this morning so we could talk about that. How you doing today?
Well, I'm doing well, Tim. Just kind of recovered from the weekend. It was a good weekend.
Yeah. I didn't realize, I know you knew this, but I didn't realize when we recorded a couple weeks ago that your record stood at 1,599 victories in your career.
Yeah.
Which is, that's a lot of W's. And so you went into this weekend, you know, you'd lost some games to start the season, hadn't gotten the first victory, but then this past Saturday, got the W against I believe the 10th ranked team in the country, and won the game in extra innings and in the bottom half of the inning to get victory 1,600. And I want to just say congratulations, because that is an incredible and staggering number. And I want to ask you, how did that feel? I know it's just one game, but I added it up, and you have coached 2,350 total games. That's a lot. That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of games, and you really don't think about the number of games very much, but when you add them up in all these years, it's a staggering number, and I don't know how I've been able to last that long, but it is. So I'm thankful to a lot of people, mainly players in our school.
Well, and how you won that 1,600 victory was, unique and special. Came from behind and had the bases loaded, and the visiting team just didn't make a play, and it went to our advantage. So what was that feeling like, though? Because I saw a lot of excitement in the videos that I saw. What for you as a coach did that feel like, and what did it mean to you to just hit that number?
Well, a little bit relieved it was over with, because it's always hanging on your shoulder. You know about it because you get reminded of it so much. And but you're relieved, and just really I was glad to get our team a win, because we needed a win for our team. And just the excitement that it brought about, and it had to be the 1,600 win, and to do it against Oklahoma City, a great team, and a great coach, and a great friend of mine, it was even more rewarding. I'm sure he didn't want it to happen that way, but he's got over 1,500 wins himself, and he will by far go past my number, because he's younger than me. He's I'm not sure exactly, in the 60s somewhere. So he's going to eclipse every record. He may not be able to reach Gordy Gillespie's number, but he'll pass mine for sure.
Yeah.
So it was rewarding, I guess, an old friend.
Well, I thought I saw something that said, I think the athletic department put something out and said that you are currently, I might be wrong here, but you are currently the active winningest college baseball coach in the country. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. You may not even realize it, but if you're not, you're pretty dang close. And I think that's just incredible. You've got 24 seasons where you had 40 or more victories. You have 8 seasons where you had 50 or more. And I'm not sure people realize how hard it is to pull off that much success. And that winning rate, that winning percentage is amazing.
Well, it's just a grind, Tim. As you well know, it's been a player. You can't can never give in and give up. You just got to keep going. And one milestone comes up, you just got to forget about it and go on. And I don't know if I'm the winningest coach in the country or not, but at least NAIA, I don't know if it's all of college baseball or not. I really don't know for sure on that. But if it is, I'm proud of it, proud for our program and what it may bring to our program. And individual accomplishments are good. Everybody likes to be recognized, and you can't deny that. But, it's more than about me. It's about programming, about players like you that have played so well. And, we had a strong vision for our program many, many years ago, and even decades ago. And you were part of that. You know what it is. And we've been able to accomplish those things. But you just got to keep going. You never stop dreaming for a team. You never stop dreaming for a program. You just got to keep plugging and go on. And things have happened. But we got other dreams that we want to accomplish here and for our program. Not for me, for our program. So that's the way I look at it. You just got to keep going.
Yeah. Well, currently you're at 1,601 victories, 744 losses, and 5 ties, which ties annoy me. Oh, they annoy me. And I look back at the records of when I was playing for those 3 years, and I'll be dang if the teams that I was on, we have 2 of those 5 ties. And I'd rather lose, Coach Hunt. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah, I know it's in the percentages. It's like a tie, it's like a loss anyway. So it's I think it's called the darkness probably or that type of thing.
They were.
So it's nothing you can do about it. And so it's just I know that Coach Crable, he's got a couple on his record too. I think as I saw, and those ties are kind of aggravating, but with the darkness and. With those many years, I'm surprised it's not more than that. But,
that's true.
I wish we could go back and replay those games and at least resume them, but it'd be kind of hard to do, bring your old guys back.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure they would do it if someone gave us the opportunity. But I'm thankful and grateful that I was a part of 123 of those 1,601 victories, 123. And I just look back and, to be a part of the bigger picture is something that I just reflect on fondly. And so, speaking of reflecting fondly, something I want to ask you, and I'll put you on the spot, and I'm going to answer the question too. Okay, so my question for you is: here we are, deep into your career, and you've achieved this, and you'll go on to achieve some other wonderful things too, I'm certain of. But you're good. You've always been good at, even when I was playing and when I've been around the team of late, you've always been good at picking out players to highlight among the team. When we're in a team setting, you'll say, hey, I want you to watch Steve Wilson run the bases. Look how he does this. Or look at how such and such, did you see how he did that? You should try your best to emulate this person. And so I know you don't have a problem picking people out of a crowd and saying, look at the goodness of what they're doing and let's try to be like them because they have it in spades. So the question is, who are a couple of your favorite players in the early years, just the early years, that nobody has probably heard of that were key to making this success possible? When you go back in history, who are a couple of favorite players that stand out for you?
You mean that were the All-Americans, like yourself, everybody knows who they were.
Yeah, but someone maybe that is not All-American that just, boy, they, you know what, they were glue. They were glue that season, even though maybe they didn't get the attention or the headlines or the Lebanon Democrat wasn't writing about them. Who was really someone that stood out for you?
Well, there's been several of them, Tim, and kind of hard to pick those people. I think Steve Wilson is a good example. You just mentioned him. Would be one of a few that I could pick out because he's always so humble. He worked very hard. Came as virtually a walk-on and became almost a draftable player. And just the way he played the game, how hard he played, and all that. And one another guy I think about, I don't think he was an All-American. He was a really good player. He got drafted was Tommy Smith. And how good he was. I don't think he made All-American, but
no, he didn't.
How good he was, and how he was just a mean guy on the field. I don't mean a mean person, but
right.
He'd cut your heart out. He loved to win. He got some big hits for us, and him and I'd get after him all the time, but he took it the right way. Just a tough-minded guy that I remember that maybe not got all the acclaim that he should have gotten, but he would definitely be one of them. And then there's been the pitching staff of 14 who we had nobody that really got any awards, any at all. In fact, the whole team was not even awarded very well. But the pitching staff was just did a great job. We had a bunch of guys that were just maybe so-so in stats, but they just won. They had big hearts, and so I would have to pick out the pitching staff of 14 would be, and the whole staff, that pitched would be one group. But there's been so many.
Well, let me tell you a couple of mine. I'll tell you a couple of mine.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is actually somebody I never met, but he was All-American, and his name Joe Monica.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
I came in on the back end of Joe Monica. He was a catcher, and I never met him. All I heard was just stories about Joe Monica.
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, I want to be like this guy. I never saw him. I never met him. I saw his stats, but I heard you tell stories. I heard Q, who's Rodney Martin. I heard Q tell stories. I heard my teammates tell stories, and I thought, man, if I could be half of Joe Monica, I'm going to be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to mention him, Tim, but I didn't. He was an All-American, so one of the best players I've ever been around, Joe Monica. No question about it.
My other one.
Yeah,
so Joe is maybe one day in life I'll get to meet him and tell him how big of an influence he had on me.
Yeah.
But the other one is Gustavo Rodriguez.
Yeah. Gustavo was on a great team and nobody knew about it. He was a good player. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
He and I, during my freshman year and after, we became close, and I just always admired him and his perseverance and what he had been through. Just he told me the stories of leaving Venezuela and getting to literally the shores of South Florida. He became a big Florida State fan because that's where he first started, was in Tallahassee. Had to learn English. Got to Cumberland. I don't even know how he got there, but then just his mental toughness to just do whatever he needed to do. He always pulled through for us, and I just admire the heck out of Gustavo.
Well, he was on one of my greatest teams that you were on, offensively, one of the greatest teams that we've ever had here in 1990. And Gus was in the background of that team. He played right field. He had good numbers too, but he didn't match what some of you guys did. So I think it's a good he's a good one to.
Well, teams need people like Gustavo and Steve, and Tommy, and I mean, we could sit here and name, several hundred other people like them, and guys like me or Joe Monica or Bobby Perna or others who kind of get more of attention. But boy, we would be nowhere without those guys.
Yeah, and I think about the old 4 team. We had some really good players, but we also had Caleb Barrett at the bottom of the order, Derek DePue, our second baseman, at the bottom of the order, and those kind of guys were just key people in our lineup. And, in 2010, we had all those guys playing and had great numbers, but we had a kid named Dave Ware that did a great job for us and stealing bases and playing center field, and TJ played second base, and those guys didn't get much attention, but they did great jobs, And those type of players, your second line players, sometimes are the heart of the team.
Yeah.
So that's a good point. I'm glad you brought those things out.
Well, I talk about that with our team at Lees McRae an awful lot because obviously, as competitors, you get so focused on your own self and being your best and, trying to just produce that sometimes we lose sight of what our role is within the team and that every single role on the team is important and that the team's not going to be successful without you, even though maybe you're not the one winning the race. Maybe you're not batting cleanup. Maybe you're not the starting pitcher, but you are critical to our success. And here's how you can fulfill that role. And if you do, then everyone else can be more successful. And that, high tides raises all ships. And so all those players out there, or coaches who have players like this, I think that's the value you try to instill in them is that you have an important role. You might not be the key person, but we need you as much as we need that top player because otherwise we're all going to sink.
Oh yeah, it's great points there. Great points.
Well, Coach Hunt, congratulations, and
thank you, Tim.
I really appreciate your time. Appreciate your friendship.
Well, thank you.
And
you're special to our program, one of the all-time greats. You know that. You don't say it much, but you're recognized as so proud of what you've done in the coaching area and who you are. And I'm glad this podcast thing is going off well for you.
Well, I appreciate that. So, Under the Sun listeners, stick around because the next clip is going to be Coach Hunt and I diving into building a culture of success. So, stick around and listen up. Thanks, y'all. And we're back on Under the Sun, and I'm back with a special guest who's been on the show once before. I'm sitting down with Coach Woody Hunt, the baseball coach at Cumberland University. He's a coach that I played for during my college years. Coach Hunt, welcome back to Under the Sun.
Well, glad to be here, Tim. It's good to see you again. And new equipment, and it looks good.
Oh, man, I'm getting pro. Well, I wanted to sit down with you again in person. This is my first in-person interview with this new equipment. And I want to talk about building culture. Not only building culture, but building a winning culture that is sustainable. And you have done that. We're in the press box here at the ballpark here on campus at Cumberland. And I was looking at the clubhouse out there, and I'm going to catch you off your feet here a little bit. What does 22, 12, and 3 mean to you? Do you know what those numbers are? 22, 12, and 3.
I would say 3 national championships.
Bingo, that's right.
12 trips to the World Series.
Bingo.
And 22 conference championships.
You know your numbers. That's correct. You win that round of Jeopardy. So anyway, 22 conference championships. I was fortunate to be a part of 3 of those. And if I look back on my own athletic career, that accomplishment with the team it's one of my more proud accomplishments because we helped start something.
Yeah.
And of course the guys the year before in 88 really got it going because they went to the World Series the first time. But you were in the early years of your coaching career, and now you're getting to that point where you're soon to pass the torch. But I wanted to dive into culture and winning and what it takes to build that level of success and consistency from your perspective as a coach.
Yeah. Well, the early years, you're so wrapped up in what you're doing. You just have joy in coaching and joy in running your program, or you could call it passion. And passion just kind of leads you to work hard, to try to be the best you can, to create an environment that the players can be successful in. And so I think the first thing when I started my career, just the joy and happiness that I had in coaching. That's kind of what I wanted to do, and felt blessed to be able to do that. And you just kind of put your nose to the grindstone and just work, and then kind of things fall in place. But you've got to have some success early in your career to build a program. It doesn't start always with I think you got to start quickly, and the quicker you can have success, the better chance you have of building a program. But it doesn't always happen that way. But for me, it happened that way.
Mm-hmm. Well, and the thing is, I came into coaching, 15 years ago, and I had no coaching experience prior to that, other than just working with teammates and helping others as an athlete. Because when you get into coaching, they don't give you a manual.
No,
there is no how-to book. You're literally making it up as you go along. And my experience thus far, working in college athletics at least, is athletic directors and others that give you the liberty and the freedom to, govern your own team. Do what you want to do. It's your team, just like a professor in a classroom. How did you make all those decisions, and knowing what you were doing was the right thing to do? What guided you?
Well, there's always guidelines you got to go by with the school or whoever sets those guidelines. But, within those guidelines, you just, you have to set your own personal, I would say standards might be a better word, where you're going to just work hard, demand that the players work hard and buy into what you're trying to do. And basically, it's very simple for me. I just worked hard and demanded the players work hard. And I didn't have any secret formula, but as I told someone once before, hard work covers up a lot of deficiencies you may have as a leader. And I think that's what I did.
Well, if you go back to the early stages, because you've certainly had a life cycle with the program. You launched it, had all this growth, enjoyed success, really at a high level, and then I hate to say it's kind of coming down, because it's not. Things are more competitive these days. But as you were starting, how did you instill in the players that this is a direction you want to go? Because goal setting played a role in that, and you established the goals, and it seemed to me as a player that you had broken it down in chunks. Mm-hmm. And we could swallow the fact that, okay, let's go win conference. Yeah. And the next step is this, and the next step is that. But as a coach, you and I were having this discussion over coffee earlier this morning about how many more decisions there are you have to make that are not even on the field. Mm-hmm. And what it takes to be a coach, and how that can bog you down sometimes. So then, again, how do you get that going with your players?
Well, you have to talk about what you want to do. You have to instill in the players your vision, and they have to see that you really are locked into that vision, that you really care for the program and them as players. And then you just set goals. I remember one of our early goals was to be the best. After we went from a 2 to 4 year school, is to be the best 4 year small college program in the country. That was our goal, and it still is. We've never quite reached that goal, but we've been real close. And but instilled in that goal is a unit to be the very best that we can be. And then you break it down into smaller goals of winning conferences. I remember when you played, we took pride in winning conferences every year. I think we knocked off 15 in a row, and that's really hard to do in a very good conference. So, and then you have a goal, to you share a vision with your players. Look, we're going to go to the World Series. I remember telling our players a long time ago that we're going to win a national championship. I didn't know if I'd be the coach, but this program's going to win one. Well, it happened, and then it snowballed a little bit from there.
Mm-hmm. Well, then you've got the work you got to do to get to that point, and then there is a different level of work once you've had that level of success. That sets a new standard. And what decisions did you do differently as a coach and leader to continue to keep your players pumped up and excited and thrilled about the opportunity were there any things that you did differently at that time to sustain that momentum you had?
Sustaining momentum and maintaining a program is difficult. You know, anybody can get, I wouldn't say anybody, but a lot of people can get there at the top, you know, but can you stay there? Very, very difficult. And I tell our players that to maintain excellence is more exhausting than creating excellence. And so it's a very difficult thing. I don't know if I have all the right answers, but I just never let up, Tim. That's my personality. That's who I am. To understand this exhausting effort every day. I'm not talking about 4 days a week. I'm talking about every day.
Yeah.
7 days a week. It just lives with you. That don't mean you don't do other things with your family or go to church. You know, you do other things, but you know the program that you're involved in. It's just part of your existence, and you never lose sight of that. That may not be the right way, but that's what happened with me. And I just understood it's going to be an exhaustive effort, that you have to really work. You have to understand you got to work through issues, through problems, and you got to have good players. You know, good players can you get good players to perform? Is it maybe the toughest thing to do in coaching? Is good players, if they can perform to their level that they were capable of, you're going to win a lot of ball games if you recruit well.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think back often to my own experience growing up, and I think it would surprise people how similar the process is for, I could say baseball because that's mine, but other sports too that are a ball or a stick sport are to cycling.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you might go out and pedal a bike or pitch a baseball or hit, but the process you have to put yourself through as a player, as a competitor, and as a coach, I can tell you from experience, it really is the same. There's not really much different when it comes down to hard work. And I think it's a great point you bring up about it's exhausting, because I share with our team pretty consistently that I acknowledge it's a heavy burden.
Yeah.
I'm asking you to carry a heavy burden, and it's not easy, and it's not ever going to get easy. You know, and really in the end you don't want it to be, because that satisfaction you get when you do have success is going to feel so much better because you know how much you put into it. And so I want people out there to know that it doesn't matter if I'm talking to a baseball coach or a cycling coach or a business leader, the process to achieve the success you want inside your heart is so similar.
Exactly.
If you think about other areas of your life, you know?
Yeah. Anytime you become excellent in something, or you're trying to get to that point, it's exhausting. And it's just work, basically. Work. I think of a local bank here, Wilson Bank and Trust, how Randall Clemens started that bank from a house, just a regular house, into one of the largest community-owned banks, probably in the South. You know, very successful. But that started with a vision and from one person that grew, and hard work, and just a continuing process, and now look where it's at.
Well, funny story. I bought my first computer because Mr. Clemens gave me a loan.
Yeah.
I remember that. Now that you bring it up, I remember being in his office. Good story. When you look back on what you've done, now you're at a different point in your career, and got an amazing facility, a lot of success, and you never have talked about legacy. That's just not something you've ever even brought up. Other people do a lot. They're much more aware of it than you are. You're too busy doing that work that we're talking about. But you are, eventually it's going to get passed on to someone else. And what that process is like, I didn't prepare you for this question really, is letting go.
Well, that's been difficult. You know, I'm to that point right now. Everybody knows that. My age will tell you that it's about time to get out of it. And there's a time and a season for everything. There's a time and a season in a person's life. And I'm hoping that through prayer and through circumstances that I'll figure this thing out. But, letting go is going to be difficult because, I've been on this little plot of land for 42 years, and it's going to be hard. I know that. I hope I'm not selfish when I get to that point. I hope that I can come and enjoy a ball game here. I hope that I can, be content with or happy with the success of the program after I'm gone. And all those things cross my mind. And I hope that the next person that comes in here won't feel the pressure that they may feel. But it's a weird feeling. Never one that you never get ready for. I don't think it just kind of jumps up on you. We honored Coach Walters last night, and Mitch he's calculated his retirement. He has set a date and he's stuck with it. Where I'm straight out the fence,
Mm-hmm.
But just to let go of what I do and what we've done is going to be hard. However, on the other hand, and sometimes I look forward to that because I know it's the next stage of my life, and I know I've got to prepare myself for that next stage, and that's the process I'm going through now. Is preparing myself mentally, preparing my heart for that, and I think I'm on track to doing it, but I got a little ways to go yet.
Yeah.
Before I'm ready at that point.
I think it's hard to just circle a date on a calendar.
Yeah.
When you do what we do, it's a feeling you have. It's an emotion,
Yeah.
and you'll know when that time is right.
Yeah.
Letting go has always been hard for me.
Yeah.
But I went through that here, letting go of the position I had here at Cumberland to go on to something bigger and better. And I think no matter if you're at my place in my career and life, I'm quite a few years behind you, or if someone's younger than we are, that you always need to be going towards something new for yourself that excites you, and when you wake up every day, you're looking forward to what's ahead.
Yeah.
You got something to challenge you, and so it's been good for me to watch you go through all of these different stages of your career, because it's helped me to be better prepared for what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I know that time is coming for myself, and I don't know if it's going to be soon. I don't know if it's going to be well down the road, but I know I learned from you to challenge myself no matter what I'm doing, and that's a value that I know that hundreds of other people have taken from you, not just baseball players either, but athletes all across this campus. And so as people are talking about legacy, I think that's what the real legacy is for any of us. It's not 22 conference championships or 3 national championships or whatever it is. How did you affect people when you were working with them? What did you leave with them that they can carry forward in their lives and their community?
Well, I really don't know. I just did what I naturally do, and I just have worked. I think I've worked hard, almost to an exhaustive stage at times, and that's probably rubbed people the wrong way because people get jealous of things sometimes. And but just the work and the grind, I think I've been able to do that, and the fact that I care about the program. The passion I have for the program to be excellent. I hope I've been able to leave that with our players. And I think if they see my passion for the program, I may not be the best X and O guy or the most, I don't know. I don't try to figure that thing out. I just try to let the players know that I do care of what we're doing. I want to win. I want to win the right way. And I tell them that. If you don't have that desire to win, why even do it? Don't be satisfied with second place or whatever. That's going to happen a lot more than first place, however. So, but you got to strive to be the best, and I think you got to have passion for the organization or care for the organization you belong to or you represent, and care for the people that are participating in that organization. And through all that, a lot of hardships come about. But if you have those, I think you can work things out. So I hope I've leave my players with that.
Well, another little topic that's kind of an offshoot of that I want to cover with you, because this is something I think about a lot in general. If I look back in time on my career, and at times I think about it daily because I want to manage every moment I have with the athletes as best as I possibly can. So I've learned to slow things down and not let my emotions or ego get out in front of me too much. But look back in your career, are there any situations or occurrences where you look back and say, you know what, now being a more mature and more experienced coach, I wish I had handled that situation differently. That, I was wrong. I made a mistake. I wish I could go back and change that.
Yeah, there's been many of those cases. A lot of them have been with people, one-on-one, where I may not have handled a person the right way. And I've always, that's always bothered me that, it's hard to be fair with playing time. So I try to tell players that everybody's got equal importance, whether you're the best player on the team or you don't play hard at all. Everybody's got an importance, and I really try to make them feel that way. But I know I've made some personnel decisions that were not in the best interest of the player. I recall once that I brought a player in, and a shouting match occurred, and I was very accusing him of a lot of things, and that when I was younger, and I really want those moments back, but I can't take it. And I really wish that there's a few other occasions that I've been a little bit more better in certain situations of letting them helping them fight through situations, and that's happened several times. And I've made some on the field decisions that I think have hurt us. In 2006 World Series, I bunted our best hitter, and he had hit a home run early in the game. So I wondered what would happen. He got the bunt down, however, and so I wondered what would happen if I had let him hit.
Yeah.
So that's always daunting to me, or I think about that a lot. And we lost in extra innings that game. That could be another national championship for us. And then there's been a couple of the times that I know that on the field that I made some bad decisions. You don't intentionally make those decisions, but sometimes you make them where you have to. I'll use you for an example. Maybe the hardest thing I've ever done. There's been 2 occasions of this that I've had to cut players from the tournament team.
Yeah.
That they both went on to play professional baseball.
Yeah.
Because you were.
Who was the other guy?
Brian Sullivan.
Yeah.
You was a freshman and had a very good year, and Mike Wheeler, who was here last night, in fact, but he got hurt. You stepped in and played very well. You deserved to go on the tournament team, and I remember that you were crying in my office.
Yeah.
And but what I remember most about you is you got more determined, and you came back and made All-American and went on to have a pro career. Brian Sullivan the same way. Brian, the left-hand pitcher that we only take 20 players. That was hard.
Yeah.
And I cut him because I wanted to take a senior in both cases. And so I don't do that anymore. I take the best. But I cut Brian. He comes back and gets drafted as Cardinals.
Yeah.
So
I was his catcher that next year.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And so, I look back on those things and really regret them. And there's been some other situations that have come up that I regret. But, as far as the program's concerned, Tim, I'm always looking to better things with the facility. I kind of wish I had done things a little different with our facility, because I love facilities. That's probably one of my favorite things about this sport. I love facilities.
Okay, well, I didn't know you were going to say that.
Yeah.
So I know that people you and I know, they're going to want me to ask you, well, what would you want aside from lights? Okay, that'd be a dream to have lights here. But yeah, what would you do differently facility wise? Because it's pretty awesome. I mean, I would kill for this when I was a freshman.
I know, yeah.
But yeah, what is your dream? Because you always dream.
Yeah,
I mean,
always.
I remember us tearing down the backstop one year and building a new one, and we're all looking at it before we tore it down, and we're like, "There's nothing wrong with the one we have. Why are we doing this?
Yeah.
We could be in the batting cage doing different things, but no, we're laying brick and we're painting."
Yeah.
So, what would you have that would be different now?
Well, before I get to that, I've told our players just recently that it's my job to create an environment for them to play their best.
Yes.
And I take that very seriously. I want our field to be immaculate. I want it to be the best it can be. And when it's not, I worry about it. I fret about it.
And they do the work.
And they do the work, yeah. And so what I would do differently, Tim, I wish our clubhouse was on the other side where we could attach it to the hitting facility.
Yeah.
And that would be the big thing I'd want to do. And, of course, lights, but we can't do anything about that. The neighborhood prohibits us from having lights. But that would probably be the big thing that I would do is with the clubhouse, move in a different spot. But when we do things in stages here, when you look at something and you do it, you're just so happy to get it done. It's hard to, do it differently because you just make it work at the time.
Yeah. Well, one of the main reasons that I came to play for you, one was because you showed interest in me when no one else really did.
Yeah.
That was obviously, that was the biggest thing for me personally. But then I'll never forget my visit during the summer before I came here in the fall, and this was in 1988. And I was here with my best friend, and we're walking around the stadium, and we couldn't find you. I was looking for you. And I'm like, where is he? And I'd only met you one time before that. We talked on the phone, but we came around the first base dugout. We go through the gate at the first base dugout, and there you were along the baseline, just covered in dirt. You were totally covered in dirt, and you were like edging the baseline or doing something, but you were getting after it.
Yeah.
And I mean, no joke, literally right then, I'm like, I'm coming here.
Yeah. Well, a lot of recruits have found me that way, and that's not my intention. That's just, back in those days, Tim, I just worked so much on the field by myself in the summer, and it's just kind of a labor of love, and I want players to see that, but that's who I am anyway. I'm not trying to I don't try to work to make them see me. I work because I'm a worker.
Yeah.
And then if they see that and get something out of it, that's good for our program and good for the players.
Well, big believer, we didn't use this terminology back when, I was here, but, you have to lead yourself first.
Yeah.
As the coach. If you want them to buy in or do anything, you have to be the one setting the example. If you're not setting the example, you might as well get out of the coaching business.
Exactly right.
I want to come back to a little bit of what you said a minute ago, just about, the decisions that kind of eat at you, or you're just like, is that I don't know that people realize that how much coaches or leaders, we are our own worst armchair quarterback. That how often we really second guess ourselves, and we make a decision, it turns out to be a good one, but until we realize it's a good one, we are just thinking about it constantly. Gosh, I hope this works. Is it going to work? And, now being a coach for as long as I have, I can empathize with all the things that you have gone through your career, and other coaches. I talk to them a lot about what they are experiencing and their highs, their lows, their frustrations, and because, as you said, we're all in it because we have a passion for what we're doing. One, we love the game or we love the sport we're involved in, but then two, you get hooked on the interactions with your players and how much joy and fun it is to do that. Whether you're winning or losing, of course, it's more fun when you're winning, but there's still a lot to gain from those hard times. But I certainly can relate to what you're describing about looking back at my interactions with athletes over the years, and how those even sometimes a big decision has a big impact on everybody on your team, unintended, and you don't realize it when you're making it, that decision. And then other times, those little micro moments you have with players, how those even affect everyone else within your team and organization. It takes a little longer for that to happen, but it does. It seeps out, and just you don't really learn those lessons as a coach until well down the road. Because I can think back to, there's 2 decisions here at Cumberland that just hang my head in shame. Like, why did I make that decision? I should have stepped up. I should have done that differently, and how different and better of an experience. One situation was a team thing, another one was an individual. And I look back and I wouldn't make that same decision for sure. And so it sort of guides me today in how I relate with the athletes that I work with. And then I have an on-the-field one from this past season where I did not assert myself as the coach, and it cost us. But we all bore some responsibility in that, because I also delegated some responsibility with, and so anyway, I look back on that and I think, well, as like you said, we don't know if it would have worked out, even if you did make the right, good decision. But at least we'll never know. We'll never know. So, well, a few other things before we wrap up. I mean, you've brought up some wonderful things, and we've gotten a lot of feedback from, at least I have, from former players and my that I've talked to since we had the first discussion months ago. And I don't want for people to get pigeonholed into thinking this is only for ball players, because I think what you have to share is applicable in for other areas, for other sports, for other people. I know here on campus you have people come to you all the time for advice about this or that as it relates to what they're doing on campus, and other people in the community kind of lean on you. What's that been like for you as a person, just to know that you have others coming to you for advice and counsel? And you were talking about, I can see you looking at me now like you're thinking about it, just that is a burden, and I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean it's nice. It's affirming when people are coming to you. It's a positive, and you're like, wow, that's special, because so few people today. It's different today, I think. I've said this to my team before. Like, just because you have a gadget in your hand that can give you every answer in the world, there's more collective knowledge in our room and our circle of friends than there is in that little device. Turn to them first, So, but for you as a coach, who you get to experience that on a regular basis, how much joy do you take from that? That's got to be fun.
Well, it is affirming, that's for sure. I think it's a good word you used. I'm kind of used to it now, but when I was a few years ago, I was kind of surprised that they would come to me. What advice do I have? I never understood. Let me say this the right way. I never really grasped maybe the impact I had, and I never felt really worthy at times to give people advice, because I always was looking for some advice too, and so it's kind of been surprising. I'm kind of used to it. I've had even players, coaches from around the country ask me questions or advice on things, and so it's just a fact that I've been coaching for so long, and we've had some success. But I think they look at that and feel like that we're doing something right, and that does make you feel good. But through my experiences, listen, time that you spend in something is really makes you who you are. It takes time, Tim. You know, it takes a lifetime to create the wisdom that you have gathered. It doesn't happen now. Wisdom and intelligence are a lot different. You know, you can be a very smart person and not have wisdom. Wisdom, you get that through experiences, through difficult times, through good times, and you start developing wisdom. And that means you have an idea of what to do in certain situations. I tell my players there's two reasons they should listen to me. Because of no hair on top of my head and gray hair on the side of my head. No hair and gray hair because I've been through it.
I love that.
And I think you probably feel that. You've been coaching a while now. But, you know, to be able to share advice or to maybe help a person solve a problem is very rewarding. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think today's generation, in bottom of my heart, I really believe this, they're better than us. They are ready.
Start developing wisdom. It takes a lifetime to create the wisdom that you have gathered. It doesn't happen now. Wisdom and intelligence are a lot different. You know, you can be a very smart person and not have wisdom. Wisdom, you get that through experiences, through difficult times, through good times, and you start developing wisdom. And that means you have an idea of what to do in certain situations. I tell my players there's two reasons they should listen to me. Because of no hair on top of my head and gray hair on the side of my head. No hair and gray hair because I've been through it.
I love that.
And I think you probably feel that. You've been coaching a while now. But, you know, to be able to share advice or to maybe help a person solve a problem is very rewarding. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think today's generation, in bottom of my heart, I really believe this, they're better than us. They are ready. They're better than us. They're more capable. There's a few things that I feel like if they would just add this to their toolbox, it would accelerate that growth. And one of the biggest ones isn't more work, because they're working their butts off. It is ask questions.
Yeah.
Ask questions of the people around you that have, like you said, that have that perspective, that have got the experience, and want to help you. You know, it's your job to help these ball players be better ball players. It's my job to help these cyclists perform. And it's what we love to do. I mean, we would do it for free if we could get by on everything else because of so much joy it brings us. So the athletes out there, we want those questions because that's how you're going to accelerate your growth. If there's no questions, then I get really concerned. I get concerned about the situation.
Yeah, you're right. You have to. Today's world, there's resources to play to get better is there for us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, back in your day, it was, you know, we didn't have all the stuff we have now. And I was raised that way too. You know, you just worked hard and you had what you had. You know, today the players have every resource possible to be the best they can be. Now, the formula is not mixed up right sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little different way of mixing it up. You know, creating a formula to success.
Yeah.
And I think players today may get that a little bit confused. Some don't. Some do. But, the stuff is there for them, but they just got to figure it out. And it's our job as coaches to help them figure it out too. So it's good that when they come and when they want advice and they seek the wisdom and the understanding of the game that you have. And some players lean more on that than others. But I think through all the stuff that we have today it's created a different culture, not only in sports but in life.
Yeah.
And so, and I've had maybe a little difficult time, to trying to adapt to the changing culture, and but you don't want to, you can't just, you got to be able to adapt to the time, but you don't want to get away from what got you there, I guess you would say.
Yeah. Well, you've got guiding principles.
Yeah.
You've got your core values.
Yeah.
You've got those characteristics that go into your daily character.
Yeah.
And how you carry yourself, and you have to lean on that first. Like I said, you got to lead yourself first, and then lean on your teammates next.
Yeah.
I think teammates are more powerful than the coaches.
Yeah.
In my opinion, if they're leaning on one another the right way.
I've said that too, that I've told teams that you can do more than I can do or the coaches can do. If you can have that influence within a teammate, peer influence is what I call it.
Mm-hmm.
You've got something where players can lead each other, and you gotta have guys that have a passion to play and to do the best they can. And if you don't have that, I go back to that word passion. If you don't really care about what you do, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
I don't care what you do.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Totally agree. Well, that's the fun part of coaching, is that you get to be part chef, part maestro, part, the person that's in the background.
Yeah.
And you get to just watch sometimes. And I try to finding the right balance and mix of that, where you insert yourself where you need to, but you step back and you let the players figure it out sometimes. And I do that a lot with our team. You've said this before about taking ownership. You have to do it as a coach.
Yeah.
But you have to instill that into your players and your athletes that, listen, this is your thing. This is what you said you wanted to do.
Yeah.
And this is what it takes.
Yeah.
Are you going to step up and do it? If not, okay, that's fine. But the thing, I use this a lot, that you instilled in me is, hey, lead, follow, or what?
Get out of the way.
Get out of the way.
Yeah.
And it's okay to get out of the way.
Yeah.
But just do that. Just don't be in the way.
Yeah, one of my favorite, I have a little thing on my desk somewhere in there, and I have that very saying, either you lead, if you don't lead, you got to follow within a team concept or a company, whatever it may be. But if you don't want to lead or follow, you must depart.
Yep. Yeah. And you know what? I think that goes for employees of a college, employees of a business. You always, you should apply that. And boy, I tell you what, I think about that one a lot. That really hit home with me, because I saw it work. I've seen it work time and time again, and I've seen it not work. And so, you know what? I think that's a good ending to our segment.
I've enjoyed it, Tim. And boy, I'm impressed with the new equipment. So
going, you know what? There's no telling where this is going to go. I'm kind of excited about it.
I can visualize you doing a talk show someday.
Well, maybe. Don't think I haven't dreamed some crazy dreams.
Hey, if George Plaster's in Nashville's a good friend of mine, he's great at it. So, you may be the next George Plaster.
Oh, goodness. All right, that's going to make Joe Dubin, he's going to be jealous you said that instead of the next Joe Dubin.
Well, Joe, either way, they're both good people.
All right, Coach Hunt, thank you for being on Under the Sun. I've enjoyed our conversation, and I'm sure that we will connect again and do another one sometime soon.
Yeah, well, thank you, Tim.
Thanks.